gradually moving back to opening schools and businesses and, of course, our in-person interactions. I want to remind you, this is all time with cold and flu season getting going. Staying hydrated is key to helping your body deal with the added stress and with the upcoming flu season. My regular fans have heard me talk about a product called Hydrolyte for a long time now. It's an amazing rapid rehydration drink. It's a mix that, well, we're obsessed with here. I'm excited to announce they've just released Hydrolyte Plus Immunity, just in time for cold and flu season. Hydrolyte Plus Immunity starts with their fast-absorbing electrolytes and adds a host of immune-boosting ingredients. Each single-serve, easy-pour drink mix contains 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and 300 milligrams of elderberry extract, creates what is hopefully immune-boosting formula that's high in antioxidants and zinc. Combining this with Hydrolyte's 7 key electrolytes, it's a fantastic way to stay proactive and properly hydrated. Hydrolyte Plus Immunity comes in convenient, easy-to-pour powder sticks that rapidly dissolve in water and make a great tasting drink that has 75% less sugar than your typical sports drink. It uses all natural flavors, and it is gluten-free, dairy-free, caffeine-free, non-GMO, and it is vegan. And you can find Hydrolyte Plus by visiting hydrolyte.com/Dr. Drew. Again, that's HYDRALYTE.com/DRDRW. And be sure to use our code Dr. Drew 25 at checkout for a special discount.
Hey everyone, it's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Thank you guys, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention all the things that are alongside of me there. That Addict scores are going to be available in February apparently, but you can sign up now and they will contact you. Whoops.
Oh wait, that's my phone. Wait. I took my earbud out.
Sorry. At least we know the sound's coming through. But they will contact you and give you your Addict score. I'm getting one next week. And again, I'm going to be monitoring my antibody and my memory B and T cell response to see when it wanes so I know when to get the vaccine. So I'm not taking the vaccine from somebody else. In the meantime, I am using my iWand, and I recommend it highly. And just today, Scott Adams was speculating, why doesn't there somebody invent something that goes in the nose and the mouth that either prevents the spread of the virus or prevents virus from getting in? Guess what? I sent him a direct message today. Halodyne has done so, and so I use those on a regular basis. Everybody,
look at you selling your products. I'm so proud of you.
I used it today myself because
You're feeling
started worrying about other infections. I want to feel better, and I do not want to get something else on top of all this.
And I think I figured out how to get rid of the echo on the Hydrolyte ads. So sorry it was a little quiet at first, but I'm still working out the details. I've only been here a year.
Yeah, Hydrolyte, I leaned on hard when I was sick.
Yes, you did.
But mostly back, just a quick update on COVID. All numbers are breaking out in a good direction all over the place. The national data, we're down from, I'm looking at California, we're down from over 50,000 down to about 20,000 now cases per day. Hospitalizations are dropping. The national data is a little more plateauy, and of course only the virus knows if it's going to continue in the direction it's going, but it looks like it is. That's sort of the typical of epidemiology. It goes up and down in a similar fashion. And hospitalizations are dropping. Death rate, unfortunately, stays up because that's such a lagging indicator. And with the hospitalizations so high, I'm fearful that is going to be up for a little while. But the good news is that overall, sort of things are breaking out in a good direction all over. And hopefully it continues that way. In the meantime, get the vaccine, get the vaccine, get the vaccine.
Why do you think that is?
Because I think there is a certain behavioral ecology to the virus that we don't understand yet. Some of it is us changing our behavior. Some of it is mask wearing, and some of it is it blows through and infects all the people it's going to infect. Much like in this household, it only affected me and Jordan, and that's it. That's
what about the vaccination? Doesn't that
vaccine
help?
is not measuring in yet. No. Vaccine is not having a measurable effect yet. But it will. It will soon, and hopefully by spring will be. But again, the Dr. Fauci, who I hope the controversy around him settles. Since the beginning, I've been saying, listen to him, not the press, and don't adopt the policies of the Chinese Communist government. Adopt the policies of the CDC and stop with the panic porn. I got myself in trouble by saying that last February, and apologize because I missed the infectivity and the seriousness of the potential morbidity of this thing, which I've now experienced personally, and have seen it many, many times in lots of patients now. So again, more than the mortality, we should be looking at the morbidity, because the mortality, like I expressed when people said, am I scared? I'm like, that was confusing to me because a 1% fatality rate did not even register as a possibility to me as something probable. But the morbidity is being underreported. And finally, people are now starting to talk a little about the long hauler effects and all the things that I've been experiencing for weeks, and friends of mine have experienced as well. And that's a pretty big issue. The misery, persistent symptoms, the brain effects we don't fully know the full story on yet. But let me look at you guys on the restream quickly. Okay, somebody's Nancy. What you put a paragraph on? I don't have time to read it. And it goes off my page by the time I get my eyes on it. But I will be working on homelessness in the future. In fact, that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's bring our guest in. Katie Sullivan was appointed by William Barr as Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Justice Programs in June of 2019. And she led the department's Justice Principal Funding Research and Statistical Oversight. More than $5 billion in grants that she was in charge of. There you are. And next to her is her husband, Art Kleinschmidt. Both of you have seen on this show before. Art is someone with a lot... Dr. Kleinschmidt, I should say, with tons of experience in drug treatment, and one of the sane voices rattling the cage at SAMHSA and at the OMDCP, where he was the assistant director. Guys, welcome.
Hi.
Hey, Art, was it assistant director of the OMDCP? Was that the actual title? Oh, I can't hear it, Susan. Hold on a second, guys.
All right. A little louder.
Okay, Art, what was the official title?
Deputy director.
Deputy director. Okay, sorry about that. Got that way wrong. So now you guys are out of Washington. I'm gonna address Katie first.
Still in DC.
Well, but I mean, out of the inner sanctum, yes.
Yes.
Katie's like yes. And are you free to talk about your experiences inside and outside? Yes. So let me just start with, what was it like inside?
It was the greatest. It was the most thrilling sort of 4 years of my life. Art and I have talked about it at length, so I think I speak for both of us. While we gave up, very stable careers and uprooted ourselves to this disgusting city. Disgusting here.
Disgusting because of all the political stuff, or because the city itself?
Everything. The whole thing, you can feel the toxicity. There's it's just especially since the summer with all the riots and everything. It's just disgusting. But at the same time, we felt a need. We felt the country was just headed in the wrong direction, and we wanted to help this opioid crisis and walking it right in front of us. So we picked up and we came here, and we would not give up 1 second of it. And we hope we made a difference, but we learned, I have to say, just selfishly, we learned so much, like coming into the government and not knowing it, and then coming here and working at it from multiple different angles, policy angles, political angles, funding angles. We learned about, really what is the swamp. And we're really excited to let the American people kind of, learn hopefully through our experience about what's really going on in your government.
Well, I want to hear that. I was hearing it in kind of real time from Art, because I knew what Art was dealing with. I know what the SAMHSA biases are, and what the ossification, the sort of the bureaucratic ossification of those mental health organizations had been. I thought that they put Art in at the ONDCP was a great sign, because they'd really not been going in that whole, the understanding addiction direction. Was there more Art going on there than you and I chatted about along the way?
Well, I kind of came out from, I started at SAMHSA as a senior advisor. So I'm somebody who had content knowledge. I had worked in it. I lived through addiction, worked in mental illness. So it took was a minute to kind of figure out how the government works, that sort of a thing.
Meaning what? What does that mean to us lay people out here, us unenlightened?
Well, see if I can sort of say this. I kind of said, if there's like a popular item or a popular work stream at the moment, then the experts come out of the woodwork and then you jump into that work stream. Which it's kind of interesting because sometimes in the government they have sharp elbows. Like, this is my issue, and I get the heck out of here, and boom, and then they might have a meeting you might not know. You have to go kind of fight your sort of way in it. But the number of the people I work with, because I don't want to be disparaging to people. I work with some really great people, part of the federal workforce, so that were very caring and compassionate about the issue. As far as things that didn't meet the eye, I would say there was probably a number of things that went on that way. And what I tried sort of explain is it's just kind of like what I said. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to get into certain issues. I'm trying to come up with an example for you, but
well, I mean, just being heard on the issue of recovery, or just being willing to call yourself a drug addict. How dare you? I mean, so many weird things that they focus on that have no, either they have no experience out in the world or have no pertinence with the people suffering from this thing. And by the way, Susan, they cannot hear them at all on the restream. You got to turn up the guests.
Well, they like to say I'm a person in long-term recovery, right? So I used to always say, you know, I'm an old AA guy, NA guy. So I would say, you know, I'm addict, alcoholic.
Yeah.
They don't do that as much.
Yeah.
There seems to be not as much support for I know AA is not in the government, but that particular model isn't really valued.
In spite of John Kelly from Harvard. By the way, they're saying, Susan, turn me down, and then they can turn up their volume at the other end. And John Kelly and Keith Humphreys have put out an evidence-based publication, peer-reviewed Cochrane analysis showing that that form of recovery is the one that is evidence-based and highly scientifically so. So silly.
No, it's true. They would, you know, like I was looking the other day doing my own private research on the side. They still use the term like abstinence-based sort of treatment, and being the way I came up, it's getting sober is really sort of what you
right
shoot to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I come from. And even in my closing remarks, I had to address the ONDCP team as I was leaving. I recited some quotes from page 417 in the big books, Alcoholics Anonymous, where you say nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. So that's actually a very famous quote that I think, a very famous passage that applies to a lot of areas of life. It's in the acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. So.
And did they take issue with you quoting from the big book?
No, they liked it. So
oh, good. Okay. All right. You left on a.
No, it's almost like when they sort of hear it, it's like a refreshing tool.
Yeah, no kidding. That's why it's refreshing to everybody that hears it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So like I kind of just pulled that. I didn't intend to do that in my closing remarks, but we're leaving and a couple of my team was crying and stuff. So I did kind of cite like acceptance is the answer to my problems today. And when I am disturbed, it's because I find some facet of my life unacceptable to me. And then, you kind of, nothing happens in God's world by mistake. And I just kind of pertained that to, we got a new political team coming in now, and it wasn't a mistake that we were here the first time. And it's not a mistake that this is going on. The transition's going on as it is right now.
And so, Katie, I'm going to go back to you. Tell us about the swamp.
Well, we are going to write about like a very simple book. Okay.
Wow,
so
nice.
We're going to do it together because, as you can see, and your viewers will see, Art and I we're so different, and our perspectives are so different. I looked at the federal government like a foreign language, and as a citizen, I find that offensive. I am a citizen. I am a voter. I am a taxpayer, and my government should not be a foreign language. Right?
Right.
Where only certain people who have either the times, the mean, the bureaucracy, whatever it is, can figure this foreign language out. I was a judge in a rural community in Colorado that got no grant money.
But hold on. It's not like you come from the legal profession. You've been a judge. That's bureaucracy. Right. But that one, is that just one you knew, or is that one even easier to navigate than the federal government?
So the criminal justice system, I think that's a fair question. That could certainly, the criminal justice system could certainly I remember having to explain to people how it would work, right? Like someone who had just never been involved. And I saw jury trials as a very important, time and an opportunity to inform people, this is the way your system works. Coming here, when you're talking like tens of thousands of people who speak a foreign language, and what I'm really talking about, because I worked on the funding, I ran grants. And so you had to really understand and speak a certain language to take advantage of that federal money that was available. And so that part to me was somewhat offensive in that if it's federal dollars and it's federal tax dollars, then it should be equal. We should all have the same opportunity to compete for those dollars. Every program, a small rural drug court program, who does not have the money or the administrative staff to write grants and then to kind of work and do all the labor around being stewards of federal money, they shouldn't be cut out of it. And then all the money's going to Los Angeles, San Francisco, Houston, just name a big city who has a lot more, they have a lot more people to work on administration.
Right.
I'm not saying the small drug court should get the same amount of money because they serve less people, but the rural communities in this country were completely cut out in the 8 years during Obama. Totally.
We did a lot of work at ONDCP. We had some really good people. We worked really hard to actually bring that into the rural.
When you say rural, you're just talking about the middle of the country, or are you talking about specifically non-city?
It's a definition. I don't know, depending on where you look at it, it's like a population of 25,000 and under.
Got it.
So there's an actual definition to it. And a little bit to Katie's point is there's a whole, I was unaware that there's a whole culture around getting grants that a lot of this country doesn't even aware of. I wasn't aware of it. And then when you're saying like one of the things, like you do like a techno expert panel and bring in all the experts, a lot of them are, if you really want to be a government expert, the way it sort of looks is be a grant recipient. If you get $3 from the government, then you're technically sort of an expert that they'll bring in for you to pontificate on certain sort of
items. Wow, that's crazy.
And then to look at, to me, what was also, again, and as Art said, we worked with a lot of nice people. I mean, these are human beings, and they were, many were very well-meaning. And I always said like 10% were probably very ideologically, working from the inside in order to take down the evil President Trump. It wasn't a huge percentage, but they did not want things here to change. And that is a nonpartisan issue from what Art and I could see. They want systems as usual. They want more federal government, less, power to the states. They want to grow their silos. That was the thing that was most shocking to me, was that this idea of reducing federal government was certainly not shared by a lot of even the Republican establishment here. And so you would get pushback on that. You certainly got pushback from federal staff, of course, because they didn't want to do it. But when you look at a subject matter expert in the federal government, I mean, here is my husband, who is not only brilliant, obviously, and very handsome. He is also, he was a clinician.
Yeah.
He has an MBA as a CPA.
Yeah.
He's like a brilliant guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's had years of experience.
Years of experience.
Yeah. On the patient side and on the treatment side.
Totally.
Yeah.
And yet he would walk in a room and there would be subject matter experts who had done nothing but go to college and work in the federal government, and they would tell him that he was wrong. These people have never seen a client, never worked with an addict. And at best, they went to visit a grantee and everybody was like polished up and they talked to the administrators. They don't understand. They don't understand the way that things work.
Right.
And that was the same with me in terms of trying to get grant funding out to, in the criminal justice system, to law enforcement, police officers. and I would look at the conditions that were put on these grants. I would say to the staff, where does this condition come from? Show me the statute, show me the rule or regulation, show me where this comes from. No, we just thought it was best. You've never been in a courtroom. You don't understand that condition you put on just cut out maybe half the country or half the possible eligible grant recipients, right?
Yeah.
From getting this money because of that thing that you just sat in your cubicle or your office and thought was a good idea. It's like an experiment. This
Crazy.
is a good idea. Add people, put in a lot of money, and then that's basically the swamp. That's really what it is.
So it's really bureaucracy. That's what we're talking about. Really, we're just talking about government bureaucracy, which is sort of been the enemy for a long time, right?
And yeah.
Well, I guess the thing is they're very invested in keeping it that way.
I get it. It's their jobs. They think they're doing the right thing. They don't know otherwise.
You know, Katie's right. Like I would say, like even I've been to SAMHSA, worked in the White House, and then I worked ONDCP, which is the White House. Yeah, she's right. As far as and they're very dedicated, and I like that, especially in the rural ONDCP, SAMHSA. We work very hard to bring treatment and that into the rural sort of communities. But the great majority of them are working in an issue that they haven't worked in the real world with before they got to this.
Right. That's
actually probably what's going on, and they could be deemed sort of like an expert in their particular area.
Right.
And I'm not trying to indict anybody.
No, I listen. I get. I've been fighting it for. Look, Art. I want to tell you to me the biggest example of this, because I have an emotional reaction to this. The biggest example of the experts taking over was the pain opiate distribution system in the early 2000s. The experts called me a dinosaur. They told me what I was talking about, that I was interested in human suffering. And I had 10 years of watching my peers kill my patients. It was insufferable. And all the experts signed off on it. The Joint Commission of Hospital Accreditation signed off on it. Departments of Mental Health signed off on it. State Medical Society signed off on it. It was a catastrophe through and through, and all the experts agreed. And us lone voices out there were being threatened with God knows what kind of action for liking patients to suffer, which was the craziest thing I ever heard.
You want your patients to suffer and be in pain.
Yeah, or I would get stuff from the Department of Mental Health when I had a patient in 3 days of withdrawal that I allowed the patient to experience discomfort, that they were not perfectly comfortable during those 3 days. I was like, what? They're benzo opiate withdrawal. We're doing good. They're going to get through. They're going to be fine. They're a little uncomfortable. It's okay. Isn't that something?
And you say benzo opioid withdrawal. That's actually when I was on the back, when you were dealing with the work that you were just saying, that was in my neighborhood. They got flooded with these pain medications and these opioids.
Sure.
And the book was overnight. So I saw it from like that level of sort of what it looks like. And then I'm also, if I had to say, I'm a little bit concerned about what's going to be going on with the border too. At this point, I've been to the border twice. And it follows the same model what you're trying to say. Once you unleash these chemicals onto the public, you could have dire consequences. So the same sort of thing is going to kind of go through when you allow drugs to come pouring across the border as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think's happening down there?
Well, I do think actually, we did pretty good in stemming the tide of drugs coming across the border. I've been down to Texas, Laredo, and then I went down to Tucson, Arizona. So I've talked to ranchers down there. I've talked to regular citizens down there. I've talked to the Border Patrol. I talked to local law enforcement. And while we were doing like a roundtable, they have like hidden cameras they have on the border. This is like in Arizona. And then you see people dressed in camouflage with big backpacks. You see them on live stream, live TV, coming right across the border with, the backpacks are full of methamphetamine and fentanyl and heroin.
We don't have any inside knowledge of this, but just from, everything that we understand from the people who have taken our jobs and who are coming in and, the promises, Kamala Harris promised during her debate that marijuana would be legalized federally in the first 100 days of their administration. We know that that's just the beginning. The second thing is that the woman who took Art's job is, a big harm reduction person.
Ugh.
And so abstinence is out. I know some pharmaceutical companies are really concerned about that.
Concerned. Well, some of them are super enthusiastic about it. How about the multi-billion-dollars spent on Suboxone?
I know,
And
that's the other thing. I mean, we talked to, they almost feel like that's the holy grail. I don't, that particular drug in particular.
I have had physicians who claim to be addiction treatment experts tell me there's no such thing as recovery from opiate addiction. Let me introduce you to one Art Kleinschmidt, Bob Forrest, Shelley Sprague. I mean, I got millions of them. And by the way, most of the people I know that are in long-term recovery would be dead now if they had been given replacement therapies.
Well, I say this, and I've said this to myself a bunch of times. I'm lucky I found recovery before the experts.
Yeah, right. That's right.
I got sober at the very beginning of January 4, 2002. The experts hadn't found it yet. Suboxone wasn't on the scene.
And by the way, we're not condemning Suboxone. Suboxone is, again, a useful tool in our armamentarium, but they're moving towards, there's one treatment for addiction, and it's a pharmaceutical agent. I've seen that train wreck over and over and over again in the 40 years I've been doing this work. So, all right.
Tool. You're right. So I'm just, it's a valuable tool. It's not exactly the holy grail.
No, it's a valuable tool. And it's useful, but you got to understand the full spectrum of the disease. And that's the part people don't get. It's like they've never seen addiction. It's very strange. It's like,
but they never have.
Yeah.
That's why, because they never have. Maybe they had a cousin, or they had like a, whatever, a wife of someone, but they don't have the experience.
Yeah.
And yet this president, our president, President Trump, was so invested in bringing in people who actually knew how things worked. Like, this was a priority of his. We got crucified. I mean, I know some of my family members said to me, you are going to ruin your life by going to do this and give up your career. I didn't care. I thought this was so important and such an important time in our history. And, I will say that by bringing in people who didn't know exactly like this foreign language and et cetera, but did know the issues, the battles that we would have. And then, they have a lot of tools in place. Like, they have unions. This would be federal career staff unions. They have the inspector general. And so anything can go to the inspector general. Like, you do something that they don't like, and they can report that to the inspector general. So then the next thing you know, you're being put under oath in order to talk about why you made a certain funding decision or something like that, which is really just the staff trying to show you that they're in charge. It is very dicey here. And I think that the fact that President Trump especially was committed to getting people like Art and myself, who worked in the field, who actually knew how things were, to come in to try to start to say, wait, this is crazy. Like, no, it was a battle for 4 years. It was one that I'm happy we fought, but it was tough.
Did you move the ball forward? Did you leave any marks behind that will sustain?
I want to say I think we did in my line of work. I mean, some girls I work with work feverishly to put together like an accomplishment document and all these things. I think we actually moved the ball forward.
Good.
And they've had recovery. We had the big mental health summit that you were a part of. That was, in the EOB, that's a White House summit, the first one ever to kind of bring attention to serious mental illness. We've had a number of like recovery roundtables with the First Lady inside the White House. The president actually came and spoke. We went to, when we were talking about all the lockdowns affecting, adversely impacting mental illness and overdoses, we had the Second Lady. We held that at the VA in Philadelphia. So I want to say, as far as like moving the recovery forward, I want to say this administration, and in my lifetime, not just because I was a part of it, but there's been no other president in history that's done as much and has cared as much and has elevated the disease of addiction like this particular president.
Or is the current administration going to pick up the ball and keep going? Or are they?
I want to say I hope so.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to like bring up the border to bash them, but I'm just kind of like, when you my guys are on DCP and this. when you start increasing the supply of drugs, like they did with the opioids at the very beginning, inevitably you're going to increase the
using.
The using, yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to increase the use, and you're going to actually influx a lot of these hardcore addictive chemicals. And then you combine that with some of the trends like the Measure 110 in Oregon that basically decriminalize methamphetamine, you know.
That's the same thing. It's California's already there too. And
Yeah.
and so what you end up is a gigantic population of homeless people on meth, and they're dying. They're just dying, and no one's doing anything. And so that's where I'm going to put my focus again, as I've been trying forever.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to be doing next, but I just recently spoke about that. We did a big Texas policy forum, and I was on a panel, and we talked about homelessness. The lady did the panel with me was from Sacramento. So,
yeah, that was the Texas Public Policy Foundation. They're amazing think tank. But let me, I wanted to bring up something too about like in the first day. So you say, did we move the needle? We did.
Okay, good.
Our Democrats, yes, absolutely. Like there are things that I absolutely did that I hope are lasting, and I hope that the staff learned something. And but I think what's scary is, you know, in the first day there. So typically, and this is just kind of the way it goes, Democrats are much better at government than like conservatives, because conservatives tend to just work, you know, and kind of, you know, go to school and work in their community and go to church, and Republican and Democrats study government, like they love government. And so they want a bigger government. That's the difference, right? So they came in and they know what they're doing. I mean, it was just, you know, clean house, walk in, you know, much, I would say more organized and more pointed than perhaps our administration began.
Interesting. That's interesting in perspective. That's nice to hear.
Oh yeah, except, you know,
yeah, they cleaned house right away.
They cleaned house.
Yeah, my
it was like
my replacement was in office like 45 minutes, like at 12:45. I don't know when Biden gave his inaugural address, you know, at noon, and by 12:45 they already had my replacement in there. So I wish her, you know, the best of luck, you know.
So, but anyway, but you know, the President Biden signed an executive order about it transgender. It's gotten a lot of,
yeah.
So let me just, like, without getting too much into, you know, places where that might work, there's an entire field of victim shelters that are like freaking out, because if you identify under that executive order, if you identify as, you know, a female, and then you go to a female, say, human trafficking shelter, they have to give you services, and they may have to let you in to stay there. Now, I know, and you know, Dr. Drew, that criminals go to where they have opportunity to commit crime. They're very, very good at that.
Tell the audience about your history running your court, what you did there, and you know what your experience was like.
You mean just running
your drug court? Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, there wasn't anything like it. I'm 23 years in recovery. I worked as a prosecutor, a defense attorney. I'd worked in big complex civil litigation cases as an attorney general. Then I was lucky, became a judge, was watching all of these people come in and out and saying, okay, you can't drink. If you go to drink, if you drink, you're going to go to jail. And they would have multiple offenses, or they were clearly addicts. And there was just, and it would say, good luck.
Let's say you're going out on a first date.
Probation officer once a month. And so I adopted a DUI court model first. We had one guy who had 10 prior DUIs. In Colorado, there was no prison for DUIs when I first started as a judge. So the most you could get was like a year in jail, like a county jail with like a 2/3 sentence. And so I started there, started a multidisciplinary team, and then moved on to, there was just so much sort of demand that they asked if we could do a drug court for, you know, people who are felony drug offenders. And so I ended up just starting that and then running both of them. And when I left, they continue to this day. They're now in 2 different courts with 2 different judges. But it was a model I completely believe in. I believe in, rehabilitation. I think that if you are in the criminal justice system and you have an addiction and you're willing, then we got to work on the addiction and we got to work on the criminal thinking. And we have to provide like 360-degree services.
Yep,
And
yep.
that's what we did. I had 11% recidivism rate, a
Amazing.
70% graduation rate, which is huge. And I, of course, it was the hardest thing to leave. And I still keep in touch with the team, and I certainly keep in touch with some of the graduates, many of whom are just doing incredibly well. And so, and then I ran the Office on Violence Against Women when I first started here. And so, domestic violence and sexual assaults and all those things came through my court, all those types of cases, and a huge concern for victims and looking at victim services. So, when you have victims that may be compromised, I get, that concerns me, right?
Yeah.
So you say, we moved the needle, we did, but every action sort of has a reaction, and we know that. And so there's a plus and a minus in everything that you do. And right now, my concern really is for victims. And I also honestly don't think that women that report against Democrat candidates are treated the same way as women who report against Republican candidates for office. I really don't. I really don't. And I have seen that hypocrisy time and time again, and have been keeping an eye on it more and more and more since I've been here, where it doesn't matter the partisanship of the female, but it just matters who they are accusing.
Wow.
So I do not think that that's treated the same. All women are not believed. It is Democrat women who are going after Republican candidates are to be believed. Women who report their experiences of either sexual harassment, sexual assault, or domestic violence with the Democrat candidate are not believed, or it's not reported, or it's just, their lives are ruined. So, I mean, those types of hypocrisies are what concern me on a much bigger, personally, just on a much bigger basis than just what's going on in Washington.
Are there
right?
are there correctives to that?
I'm wondering. So this is a question I have for you, and I know you're tired from COVID and everything, but so, you and I have talked about this. I'm so big on Al-Anon and my brother and sister, I'm so proud. My brother just had 40 years of sobriety.
Wild.
He just celebrated that. And he texted me and said, oh God, I'm going to cry. But he just said, you're probably one of the only ones that'll remember, this day for him. And so he just celebrated that. And my sister has, she's getting some years on her for sobriety as well. And so, obviously alcohol was a big part of our growing up. Let me say that. I don't want to take anybody's inventory, but that gaslighting that comes along when you're raised in an alcoholic home, where the reality that's going on in the house isn't really fitting the reality outside of the house, right? And I just keep feeling like that is the way that our country is operating right now, because the things that Art and I got up and saw on a daily basis and saw the accomplishments in this administration or people that we knew. And I myself was subject to a completely false news story, completely false. I spoke to the reporter, I, corrected the whole thing. And yet it was all printed the next day. And all it said was that I said it wasn't true or something. We are being gaslit on a regular basis. I am not saying that President Trump or we or anything that we did was perfect. It's not perfect. We're human beings. But what I am saying is, how do we correct that? How do you deal with nationwide gaslighting, which is what I feel like we're experiencing to the point where I had to turn it all off, all of it. Every social media, every news, I just had to just live in like, so I could understand what I saw in front of me, and that's it. And this is my truth, and live in the moment, because I know the things that are reported aren't true.
Yeah, I know too. Whenever you've been the subject of a hit piece or a slam on social media, you see how distorted everything is and how people lap it up. I think ultimately, I'm noticing in younger people, like under 20, they're aware that the news is not to be relied upon, that they can't trust it. And ultimately, I think the market's going to take care of this. I think people are going to stop buying the newspapers that are gaslighting or distorting or telling narratives on either side, and just stop watching and just digging for their own information, rather, because it's not the news anymore. It's everything but the news. So it's all it is opinions and distorted narratives. At its inception, it was something called Gelman Amnesia. You ever heard of Gelman Amnesia?
No.
Physicist named Gelman, Gell-MAN, realized that when he would read the paper every day and he'd see a story on physics, he was a physicist, he'd look at the story and go, they got this completely wrong. And then he'd go on and read complex stories about international relationships and politics and assume they got that all right. And the reality is that's the amnesia. They get it all wrong. They've always gotten it all wrong. They've never gotten it right. But now they're engaged in a way to tell their story or narrative, or they feel they have an obligation to tell a certain point of view. And so it's gone completely off the rail now. And it's very hard to find really decent news. It's just impossible. And you're really talking about the press, which is where all this is going on. It's weird to me that, I guess it's to be expected, that this administration is taking aim at things like Fox News when the same thing is going on both sides. It's very hard to find reliable information. But I want to get back to the drug courts and where was I going? I think I was going to go into homelessness and what we have to do about that. That's where I'm going to redirect my attention, which is oh, by the way, as far as Gelman Amnesia goes, you never know more just how distorted the press is until they run a story on you. When they run the story on you, and particularly when you've been interviewed, you realize just how far they go into outer space. It's just, and it's infuriating, and you feel helpless, and it's the worst thing. I know what I wanted to say. There was some chatter on my chat stream here. People going, oh, it's so courageous, Katie or Art are talking about their recovery. I don't really put words in your mouth, but that's like talking about what you had for breakfast or your hair color. That's who you are, what you are. It's nothing courageous about it. Now, some people will choose to be circumspect and not talk about it out of respect to what are called the 11 traditions. That's not because they're not courageous. They would happily talk to you about it. They're just following a certain tradition, a tradition that was actually invented by Bill W.'s wife. And she, just before her death, decided that particular, the 11th tradition, that's the one, no media. And she said that one needs to be reconsidered because we need to get the word out. People need to learn about recovery. And so I'm just always grateful when people do talk about it. I would never force anybody to talk about it, but when they do, it's so helpful. So yes, did I put words in your guys' mouth or speak the truth?
No, I think it's just for us. It's just our complete, like you said, it's like breathing.
Yeah.
But I do understand, and the tradition is, we don't promote. And
right.
If it's AA, you can be sober a lot of different ways. AA doesn't work for everyone. We don't promote AA like press, radio, or film, but at the same time, that worked for us, right? Like that worked for me.
Yeah.
AA saved my life. Al-Anon gave me a life. I believe this whole country would be better if everyone went through a 12-step program. Like it's an incredible thing that brings you closer to God and fills the dark hole inside of you and lets you know that you're loved, and it's a fellowship, and it saves your life. And so,
well, and one of the things that both Kelly and Humphreys, the head of addiction at Stanford and Harvard, showed was that the mechanisms that are available through 12-step are the same phenomenological mechanisms that we use in professionally managed therapies. Same exact phenomena. So
that's what to say they don't mind borrowing from it, right? So
right. And before you say any more, Art, and it's free. And it's on every street corner, and it's free. Did I say it's free? It's free. And you worry about healthcare costs and availability. It's free. It's available now. They'll come get you. Oh, my God.
I just met her, actually. It was at an AA meeting. I was telling my story, and she came up to me.
Oh, he came up to me, but it's all right.
What happened? What's going on here? So you're talking about a 13th step? What happened?
No, he had a lot of years. No.
I was already up.
He's so handsome.
Yeah,
How can I not go up to him?
Yeah, but so I was lucky she did, or maybe I went up to her. But I met her at AA. It was at a speaker meeting, and I was the main speaker.
Yeah, I remembered that. That's awesome.
Oh my God, they're so cute.
I would love to see Art at a speakers event. I would really love to see that.
But I was doing. In fact, your name came up on my last homeless panel. I don't know. Do you know Michelle Steve at all?
Sounds familiar.
Anyway, so we were. Is that what you wanted to go into, like the homelessness?
Yeah. Let's go there. It's time. Yeah.
Well, kind of what I was in. You and I have talked about this, and I know I meant to kind of go into the other day what you're saying about taking the language back, and I think one way, you and I have talked about this a lot, to frame this thing would be the difference between enabling and helping somebody.
Yes.
Right. So the people, I haven't been to California. I mean, I've been there before, but I haven't seen the homeless populations and that. Or also like in Philadelphia, they have, what's that section in Philadelphia? Kensington. So you have these areas. They're not helping anybody. What you're doing is allowing and festering somebody to stay sick and remain sick and die.
And sick and die is the key part. This is the part that's left out of all the good intention interventions. It's not a static illness. It's a progressive illness that ends in death. Period. And they leave that part out.
The progression part is something that's key that I do think the government hasn't quite, well, I don't want to say the government, but a lot of the people that are driving this don't quite understand. By the time somebody gets to, let's say, a daily sort of opioid addiction, they have progressed to that point. So there would be a number of drugs along the way before they actually sort of get there. So what I was trying to explain to them, and you understand this, like somebody has like a polysubstance use or whatever, that's the norm.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to address it with one particular pill isn't enough. But but I've been trying to say, like, if we took back our language, and I think the American people would understand it, because this is how I'd ever explained it to the parents or the loved ones of my client in treatment, when they're helping and when they're actually enabling the disease. So, and I think if we framed it that way and created a national intervention strategy or a better intervention strategy than what's going on, I think it would be a lot more beneficial to people.
Of course. Yeah. Did you guys get to know Robert Marbut when you were there?
Yes, he's great.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm thinking we need him to help figure out the infrastructure of what's needed.
We got an email from him today.
I did. That's why he's on my mind.
But he was great.
Yeah, I met with him. I had coffee with him. He ran the usage program. So yeah, he has a, he's right on line with what
he's very good. It helped a lot when the president appointed him, and he was very active and very involved. And he was at the mental health summit that you
yes, he was. Yep.
And I was going to tell you back to Chris Humphreys and Dr. Kelly and Dr. Humphreys' study that we had Dr. Humphreys testify to the President's Commission on Law Enforcement and Public Safety, and he had just finished that report. And so was able to get all of that on the record. And we did a commission report to the president. I think this new administration has talked about wanting to do a different commission because they didn't like our commission. I mean, but we had people we had Dr. Humphreys come and speak and talk about the model of AA and how important it is. It's so weird how the government takes the best parts of AA or whatever, and then figures out a way to bureaucratize it. And
that's really funny, isn't it?
Letting it be.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was watching some stuff out of the NIH last week where they were like, oh, finally we have Wellbutrin and Narcan, the long-acting one, for all the stimulant addicts. There's a 10% improvement in recovery. I thought, oh my God, they can't stop. They can't stop pharmacology, thinking of pharmacology as the answer.
Yeah, they are desperate to find one that a Suboxone for like stimulant disorders. And what I tried to apply to them is, the guy with a heroin addict is most likely also has a stimulant disorder.
Oh, of course. On the street anyway. That's an almost without exception combo. Unless they're going hard on fentanyl, and then their lives are in deep danger.
Right, exactly. Or they could revert back to their meth when they get
right.
Or something like that.
You never did anything like that, did you, Art? You never flipped around like that?
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, that's actually the norm.
I know.
Cocaine and stimulants, heroin, opioids, pills. I try to explain it to them this way. Really, what somebody gets addicted to is a sense of intoxication, right?
Yeah.
So they're all sort of chasing that.
Yeah.
And they get too married to this sort of drug of choice, especially with the opioids. And now you mentioned the withdrawal. See, opioids has that physical sort of route that they could sort of see with the withdrawals and that.
But that's not addiction. That's dependency.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And sort of like with a crack, it's going to be a totally different.
Right. Crack is the disease is pure addiction, which is just a disease of wanting. Even though you don't like it anymore, you still want it. And so we have a liking system and a wanting system in our brain. And you like it at first, but then you just want it. And the crack is a prime example that in 3 days in, you're by yourself, you're psychotic, you've got foil on the window, you're looking out at the cops outside. And of course, it's all hallucinatory. and you're going there as soon as you buy the crack. That's where you're going. And yet, and it's going to be terrible and miserable. And the first hit's going to be good. The third's going to be not as good. The 10th's going to be terrible. And you're just going to be off wanting, pure wanting.
Yeah. Jones and the rest of the time.
Yeah.
It's like a buddy used to tell me an addict will take a drug even if it makes them feel bad. Doesn't matter.
That's right.
It's probably hearing your voice, but we were talking to Duke, and he has this really cool kind of company where it's all does sober events. And we're actually going to Tampa on Super Bowl Sunday. And we are speaking at like a sober pregame event. They have some NFL players. They have music. They're going to have us say a few words. And this guy, Duke, is amazing. And so we were talking about your show. And I was saying, and Susan, correct me if I'm wrong, please. But I've looked everywhere so I can, because, we're home now, right? Like we're jobless. Yeah. And yay. And I have to find it right. And so, I just wanted to binge watch Celebrity Rehab, right? Because it's my favorite. It's on my top 5 favorite shows always of all time. And you talking about all this and thinking about that one guy on your show with the crack. Oh, it was so sad. He's up on the roof. Oh gosh.
Shifty.
Yeah, Shifty. And it was just oh gosh, all of them, everybody.
Yeah.
So where can we binge watch that?
YouTube.
Is it YouTube?
Oh, no, not YouTube. It's on iTunes.
People have been telling me they're finding it and
I think you can buy it on iTunes.
And you might
the whole season, all of them.
You know what you might appreciate? Did you see the show I did with not celebrities? I just did rehab. We just did a regular rehab. Yeah. Those people are all doing really well. I've heard from lots of them, and they're like transformed people. So you might want to revisit that one.
Maybe one of our audience members knows where to get it.
That was a very sick group. That was a group that had a lot of stuff going on.
Okay, anybody in the audience?
Yeah, I think it's iTunes, because if I remember, they were selling it for like $12.99 a season or something, or an episode.
Celebrity Rehab, Carol.
They should triple that, because that is the greatest show ever made on TV. So
well, you're very kind.
Maybe it'll come back like the Love Boat one day.
And I don't know if they have Sober House anymore, but I was thinking back to that one Sober House show. Yeah. Oh my God.
When Tom Sizemore.
No, I'm thinking of the one with Rodney King.
How about the one with Steve Adler?
Yeah.
We got to get them on. We're going to have Rachel Yucatel.
We're going to bring a bunch of them back on this little stream. Rachel Yucatel is coming on Wednesday.
She's the one that always haunted me, with her mother was selling her and trafficking her and everything.
Amber, I've seen.
She went to the party.
Yes.
Remember in the Sober House, and she went to the party.
Oh, yes.
And like, you were watching it and you were just like, Amber, do not go to the party.
Oh, yeah, I remember
Like,
that. I remember
staying,
that scene.
stay.
I remember that.
And then she went and
Yeah,
she
you can't go-
drank and
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, oh, of course she drank.
So Amber has come a long,
I
long way.
love her.
Yeah.
Will you tell her that I love her? I root for her every
So
day.
Susan, maybe we get Amber in here because we've had her. Yeah.
So we did a show called This Life You Live, #YouLive, and it's a podcast. And we had several of the whole premise was to see where the celebrity rehab people were now. So we did, and Bob Forrest is the coach. So if you look up This Life You Live with Dr. Drew and Bob Forrest, you'll see like the interviews we did with them. We've had a bunch of them on, but I think I want to kind of revisit it here.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Because we did it in podcast form, and then we did some video, but then we switched over and started to do these shows. But
kids that I worked with, and I would be like, well, Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew, and they didn't know. And
make them watch.
I think it's on YouTube.
That we were on the phone with the other day for this NFL sober event, which, let me just plug that for a minute for
It's
all of
Sober
you.
AF,
Sober AF, it's called. And so, but
Sober AF.
Yes, he's great. And we were like, for 20 minutes, we were supposed to be talking about the event, but instead we went back and forth about, remember this one on Celebrity Rehab? And then remember when Dr. Drew did this? And then remember, blah, blah, blah. So it was just so much fun.
No, they're the ones that are having the football Super Bowl party, right?
Yeah,
I got an email from them. They invited us.
Oh, nice.
Good.
Is that a Zoom party? A Zoom meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No,
well,
we got to Tampa for it.
all right, we got to do it.
We're going to Tampa, but then they're also doing it, live streaming it.
Oh,
so
hey
it'll
man,
be.
I can travel now. I'm immune for the moment.
Well, I can find it. What's the guy? Is the guy's name Dave, or I can't remember his name?
You have to come.
Luke Rumley. Yeah, he emailed me.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk
Let
about
me
it.
look it up.
No decisions right now, but we'll talk about it. Right now, I can't.
I want to go somewhere. I'm ready to get out of town.
Yeah, but we do want to travel. But
Yeah,
but let me just say, it's a good opportunity for me to tell two stories, because on the thread here, people are bringing up Mike Starr and Jeff Conway. Jeff Conway, if you remember, he got off all opiates and his back pain went away, so much so that he was tap dancing for me. He was much improved. Went back to his doctors, which the addict always does, and was put back on all his medicines. He got put back on so many opiates and benzodiazepines, they actually put him in a nursing home to be able to administer it to him. He was
doing drugs the whole time too.
He was sober in between, and we got him, and then the doctors kept putting him back on the drugs for no reason. He was not having pain. Of course, addict will start to talk about pain, and finally, he called me and he goes, I think I'm really ready to do this. I said, Jeff, if you're ready, I'll bring you in right now. And he goes, I need a week or so, but I think we're there. Next week, he was dead. Again, on with all the pills that the doctors had given him, just all the pills lined up. Didn't take more than he was supposed to. Took exactly what he was prescribed. Ended up aspirating, getting endocarditis, and died. Mike Starr, who was a lifelong polydrug addict. We got him sober. Bob was working so hard with him. He was sober. He was living in sober living. He was doing beautifully. And he was about 9 months, almost about a year sober. And all of a sudden he goes, I'm going to Utah. And Bob goes, got to talk to Mike. I went and talked to him. He goes, yeah, I need to get back into my music. I'm going with a band. I'm going to live in a sober living at Cirque Lodge. I've got it all planned out. I know I need structure, but I got to get back into my music. We were just the addict doing something. All of a sudden, we're like, no, something's wrong. So, I mean, it's just early recovery. That's just the way that is. But we begged him not to go. He went. He called me, and he goes, hey, man, I'm having back pain. I said, Mike, do not tell a doctor. God, please, Mike, don't tell a doctor you're having back pain. Oh, I understand. 2 weeks later, dead with opiates and benzos for his back pain at his bedside.
No music then, Mike.
Yeah, that's I had to try to explain this to people too when you ask about the government. I worked at like a number of facilities, but you have to get like a release of information and all that. You understand the confidentiality, so you have to get a release to say, Joe Blow's physician's company. But the thing you're most worried about is when somebody in treatment would go to an outside physician. That is more scary than when they're doing something else, and you got to get a readout on what kind of drug, because it could be somebody who just walked out of, say, a 90-day treatment program or gets hurt in treatment. They could end up getting prescribed something like that, and once you give them the taste of something like that, all bets are off. They could be off and running.
Adam
I
Gold.
just had my hip replaced.
Say it again.
I had a full hip replacement on December 22nd.
Oh, my
And-
birthday. That's when Drew got COVID.
Yeah.
Okay. It was great. It was outpatient. It was incredible. It was like so easy. I came
And
home.
they gave you 30 Vicodin to go home with.
Oh, they gave me a ton, yeah. But I didn't. I mean, so the thing is like it was so much easier and better to be able. I think I took the day after when the pain blocker wore off. The next morning, I was like, oh, this is pretty tough. But the thing is, if you took the painkillers, then you couldn't do the rehab. Like they wanted you to walk and get going. Let me tell you, I just did a full workout like an hour before we jumped on the
Good.
Right.
It's not even, it's a month. If
Yeah.
I had taken opioids, do you know how much longer?
Oh, I
think
forget
it
longer. You have to if either of you ever get in a situation where you need to take opiates for a surgery or something, talk to me. There's a whole way to do it to make it safe, but it's you have to go through you have to create a big structure around yourself because your thinking will go off. Your
Okay,
thinking
here's
will
a
get
little
broken
plug.
again.
Here it is. In 1 month, we're hosting the Safe Bowl in Tampa, Florida. We have partnered with former NFL players, the Deputy Director of Office of National Drug Control Policy, Wave, White Sands, and 3 music artists. So he keeps me, I don't know how I became friends with him, but he emails me a lot. So
All right, we'll
we haven't had him on the show. We should probably, huh?
Yes, let's have him on.
He does a lot of
especially.
network. He's got an interesting story. So he created this, his organization. I'll let him tell you about it.
I think
but-
you go, let's see, it's hard to read, but it's on Twitch. It's going to be at twitch.tv.sober AF Entertainment. Something
Okay,
like that.
there you go.
Uber AF is something a little different.
Yeah, I just want to tell one last story. Adam Goldstein, DJ AM, one of the greatest sober guys I knew, was in a plane accident, had to get on opiates and had panic, and they were giving him benzodiazepines. Whole team worked on him to get him straightened out again. Went back to his doctor, and his doctor said, why are you letting those people brainwash you? I'm your doctor. Listen to me. Take these medicines. 2 weeks later, dead.
See, it doesn't, and that's the other thing, like, maybe you could relate to this. I don't know. Because somebody like an MD doesn't necessarily mean they know about this particular disorder.
I think Duke is on this thread. Susan,
Oh,
look
is
at
he?
yeah, Duke
Hey,
Roomley, is that him?
Oh, yeah, there he is. Duke
Yeah.
Roomley.
Yeah, he's here.
SoberAFE.com.
Yeah, that's what he's got down there.
Yeah.
Hey, Duke.
Sober safe. Sober AFE. Okay. So anyway, he's here.
That's Sober as Fuck Entertainment. Sorry, you guys. I had to say it.
And now YouTube just banned us.
It's a different acronym meaning with the AF, but
AFE.
Well, the dual meaning. It's all
Yeah,
cool.
there's
He's on Twitch. Come on now.
That's okay.
Well, anyway,
I only make $69 on YouTube. It's okay.
but to your point, Dr. Drew,
Block me.
going to the doctor with my clients was actually in fact, like I worked with them a long period of time. If somebody had to get on opioids during sort of their treatment stay,
Yeah.
I don't think any of them maintained sobriety during that particular
Of course.
treatment for the episode. It's a very tenuous thing to do, and it's actually something you monitor very closely. Of people going and receiving these medications like post.
and the problem in drug courts and DUI courts and everything, judges, they will not mess with what a doctor says.
I know.
So
I know.
observed the drug court once because that's part of what
I
you do.
know.
And this judge, literally, the guy goes, she had to put some guy in jail because he had gotten arrested. He goes, well, I need my painkillers.
Yeah.
And I almost jumped up from the audience to be like, you are not getting those. And nope, someone said, great, where can we get them? There was
Yeah.
all these, like everybody had to I was watching the team. Oh my gosh, we have to get him his painkillers while he's in jail because he broke a law. And I thought, oh, this drug court's not going to last. I mean, someone's going to die. And they did.
The same happens with Adderall as well.
Right.
Ugh.
Especially for women because they are afraid they're going to gain weight and they go on Adderall.
Oh my.
Yeah.
But well, we could go on all day with our stories and stuff.
All right,
And by the
we'll
way,
have some of these guys
let
on.
me be clear: we're not opiophobic. If people need pain meds, they should get it. It's just people with addiction die from opiates. It kills them, and we have to be very careful with the people with addiction getting exposed to opiates. It's a, if you're having your appendix out, if you're having pancreatic cancer, of course. Take
You were
the
begging
opiates.
for it the first day you were sick with COVID.
I had such terrible crushing back pain.
That's I was
Yeah, I
at,
thought-
I was eating dinner with Adam Carolla, and I said Drew wants opiates, and we looked at each other in the eye like, what? Drew wants it. We were
even
shocked.
weirder,
We were like,
the
you got
doctor
to be sick.
prescribed it to me, and I was just thinking the other day, I used one.
I think I
One.
gave one to our son like the first day he
Yeah,
had
I used
it,
one,
too.
and I just forgot about it.
We're not big drug addicts over here, so
my
you
gosh.
know, it's good to
Well,
have around in case.
I'm
I
glad
guess.
you feel better, Doctor. We were worried about you.
Well, it was pretty miserable, but I still got the ringing in my ears, and my head's still not quite clear, and I'm not quite myself, but I feel markedly better. Talking to you guys has been a pleasure,
I
and
know.
I appreciate the service you guys did to the country.
Sorry about the sound at the beginning.
It's all right. I hope.
It's still on the Fox sound, and I had to switch it back.
Yeah. Somebody's saying, Tom Cigar is saying he loves opiates, so he never touched them. Yeah, you have to be very careful of substances you love. That's not a normal reaction. If you love it, be respectful of that relationship with that drug if you possibly can. COVID numbers in California, GSR are much improved. Much improved. I think they were over 50,000. Now they're down to 20 or something. Is that the right number? Let me make sure I got it for you here. Very quickly, yeah, we were up around 50. Now we're down around 20. But deaths are still up because hospitalizations are so high. It will improve, we believe, unless the virus does something different in the short term. You guys, you getting the vaccine? You're too young, I guess, huh?
Yeah, we're not. We don't qualify yet.
Me too.
Yeah, Susan too.
I'm
But
not
you
old
guys,
enough.
I look forward to seeing you. Maybe it'll be in Tampa, or if you're out here, or whatever I can do to help you guys going forward. We got to do something about the homeless thing out here. I may need your help on that front.
I'm going to keep that. That's actually, I've already been in communication with other people, sort of post-government.
The homeless thing.
Yeah, on what we could do about that.
I'm going to put you in touch with Paul Webster, who's sort of organizing a big.
Okay, I am in touch with him. I need to kind of circle back, but I'm in a group meeting with him.
Okay, he's developing a really excellent coalition that I think, and everywhere we go, they go, yeah, we need to do that. And you're like, yeah, we need to do it. Of course we need to. We need to change the laws.
Yeah, I could reach out to him. Glad you kind of put that in.
Okay, good. All right. And
Great. We love you
good.
guys.
Love you too, guys. Great to see you.
Okay.
I hope
Okay.
if anybody have a last second questions for these two before I let them go. I'm looking at your thread here. Keith is saying the bamlanivimab is only 7 metro areas. Okay.
Yeah, that's what. It's always been like that.
Most will need to go to the ER. Is that right? Are ERs giving it? That's an interesting question. My understanding is Lilly has multiple outlets for it, so you might want to check.
Lamp.
Yeah,
Do you
might
guys know
wanna
what that
check
is?
It's a monoclonal antibody for.
They look
COVID.
like they have a deer in the headlight.
You
look,
might want to check
right?
with Lilly. My understanding is the government has been pushing out through multiple outlets. So, but again, important information if we can figure that out. All right, guys. I'll see.
More speed, President Trump.
Okay.
All right, guys.
We really appreciate it, Dr. Drew.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk
Okay.
soon. Take care. Thank you so much for coming in.
Bye.
Bye bye. And to those of you on the stream, thank you for sticking around. We
Oh, you know what I
appreciate it.
forgot to do?
What's that?
I forgot to upload the new ad.
Oh, the
Wait, did I do it? Let me see if I did.
for
Halodyne.
For
Oh, I
Halodyne.
did. No,
For
that's
Halodyne.
not it.
They were cool guests. They're cool people. Thanks, Toms. We got to figure out the bamlanivimab thing. Somebody's got to help me with that. Joe, I saw you on the. Yeah, there you are, Joe.
Well, I think Dr. Yo is going to get in touch with them, the Coram.
With Coram? Yeah, but the Coram is only doing it in 7 urban centers. There's got to be other ways that it's being pushed out. I know it's not through ERs because it's strictly outpatient treatment, and that doesn't technically.
So weird.
Yeah, we got to. It's bamlanivimab. And it's very helpful, and they've combined it with other things now,
still
showing even
cannot
greater
say it.
efficacy. So there's a lot of
So
stuff.
I just
going
want everybody to know I got my housekeeper a vaccination yesterday. She's 78 years old. And we drove up and they said, how many? 1 or 2? And I was like, God damn it.
on. Yeah, 2 would have been good. Yeah.
Do I look 65? I had no makeup on and
So
my
there
hair
was-
was like all in a
There was someone
rat's
in the
nest.
thread here saying that the only vaccine side effects they've seen in people who are recovering from COVID getting the vaccine,
Oh.
which is interesting.
Which would be you because you'd be so whiny. My arm hurts.
Yeah.
Her arm, she goes, I feel nothing. She goes, I don't think they give me medicine. She goes, nothing. I sleep like a baby. I sleep so good. Were there drugs in there? I was like, oh my God, that's so funny.
So do we have Phil Kerpen scheduled? Andrew Ashkazvili is asking.
No. But I do have Rachel Yucatel booked for Wednesday.
Okay, we got to get Phil Kerpen on the docket here, okay?
She's from Celebrity Rehab. I don't have her banner here yet, but she will be joining us to.
She's in the Tiger documentary.
Yeah, sort of tell her side of the story.
So did you hear what we said about Phil Kerpen?
Send me the email again.
Andrew, send me the email and Phil Kerpen contact again. Susan apparently doesn't have that any longer.
Yeah, I mean, we booked like the week during the week, so we have nobody on Tuesday or Thursday.
Yeah, Duke Roomley says he's available. If you want to bring him.
Yeah, I'm not going to be here on Thursday, so maybe tomorrow or Tuesday we can get some people in. Duke, yeah, we should have you on. We'd love to promote your show. Maybe have Katie back too, and get a Celebrity Rehab person in here. We can talk to somebody that's hasn't been on the show for a while, but who would like to. Okay, yeah. All right. So we got to get going. We have dinner plans. Now that you've had COVID, we can go eat at our friend's house.
So I'll see you next time.
Hopefully the sound is good. I'll be playing with it behind the scenes.
This pandemic began. We were not sure how it spread. Everyone. It's close.
No, it's
This pandemic began. We were not sure how it spread. Everyone began wearing masks and using hand sanitizers. Great ways to slow the spread, but a lot of people still get sick. I can personally attest to that. We now know that COVID-19 spreads via aerosols and droplets from the nose and mouth, and I've been thinking about this for a while. Why aren't we also sanitizing the nose and mouth, killing the virus directly at the place where it spreads? Why weren't more doctors thinking about this? Well, some doctors have done the research. Wish I discovered it sooner. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Halodyne. It's an FDA-registered antiseptic for the nose and mouth that's proven to eliminate 99.99% of the virus that causes.
I'm going to start from the beginning.
This pandemic began. We were not sure how it spread. Everyone began wearing masks and using hand sanitizers. Great ways to slow the spread, but a lot of people still get sick. I can personally attest to that. We now know that COVID-19 spreads via aerosols and droplets from the nose and mouth, and I've been thinking about this for a while. Why aren't we also sanitizing the nose and mouth, killing the virus directly at the place where it spreads? Why weren't more doctors thinking about this? Well, some doctors have done the research. Wish I discovered it sooner. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Halodyne. It's an FDA-registered antiseptic for the nose and mouth that's proven to eliminate 99.99% of the virus that causes COVID-19 in just 15 seconds. That's right. It's created by a team of clinicians with decades of experience in antiviral treatments, initially created to protect healthcare workers. These are smart scientists, and it's a great product that also eliminates many other viruses and infecting particles. I'm using both their nasal antiseptic swab and their oral spray to help protect those around me, and you should be too. For others and for yourself. Whether you're hopping on a 3-hour flight, always use it there, visiting grandparents, or attending a meeting that you can't miss, Halodyne's family of oral and nasal antiseptics give you the safe, easy, on-the-go antiviral protection for up to 4 hours. I encourage you to try Halodyne at halodyne.com today. My listeners get 10% off with the discount code Dr. Drew. That is HALODINE.com, discount code DRDREW. So obvious. It just makes sense. Stop the virus before it spreads and gets in your body with Halodyne. Well, I too have struggled with GI issues over the years. I have something called Lynch syndrome, so gut health is extremely important to me. And while gut health awareness has increased, it's led to a wellness trend that's inspired a host of questionable marketing and some false claims. Now, you've seen the word probiotic attached to all kinds of supplements, drinks, even more. They may claim to deliver the healthy microorganisms our gut needs for proper function, but all too often the promises are in fact too good to be true. Thankfully, I became aware of a company called Seed and their flagship product, the Daily Synbiotic. Seed's Daily Synbiotic offers 24 clinically researched strains of microorganisms in a single dose. These strains support gut health and can improve regularity and relieve bloating, sometimes within as little as 24 to 48 hours. To me, what really sets Seed's Daily Synbiotic apart is the delivery system. While some products may offer the right strains, they're fragile, they rarely survive the trip through the gut, doesn't get where it needs to go, but Seed uses a capsule-in-capsule design that helps ensure the probiotic reaches your colon, which is where they often are needed. I've been taking Seed's Daily Synbiotic, and I really encourage you to check out their story and the science behind what they do. To try it for yourself, just go to seed.com/Dr. Drew. Use code Dr. Drew 20 for 15% off your first month of daily symbiotic. That is SEED.com/Dr. Drew. Use code Dr. Drew 20. I am so grateful for our friends at Blue Microphones. Not only have they completely changed what our show sounds like, they've given me headphones so I can monitor things better. This is the mic for millions of creative people, and now I know why. I'm so grateful for them completely changing the quality of our audio. You'll find Blue mics like Yeti and the Mouse, which we're using here, both in pro studios and home studios, literally all over the world. Their popular Yeti caster is a Blue Yeti microphone, plus a boom arm system that's behind many of your favorite podcasts. I run into them all the time, and now I know why. If you've ever thought about creating your own podcast or YouTube channel, Blue can make you sound and look great. Just visit bluemic.com and click Get Started, and you can start telling your story.